Greetings and salutations, friend. I am Jeremy Tank, and you are in the Manifest Design Experience, where we are walking through my design process, my brand process, really, that is really all about finding the words and the pictures that work for you to communicate your brand, this concept, this feeling of what it is you're trying to build in the world for yourself in a personal brand or for your business. And today we're going over week 2 exercises, one of which just dropped today. I'm gonna have to go back and edit that later when later date. Um, and really, this is the conclusion of the foundation series of exercises for your brand, whatever that brand is. And this is really helping you communicate with your subconscious mind, your conscious and your subconscious mind, getting them to work together, get on the same page, understand the journey that you're taking, and really where you want to go so you can identify it and start moving down that path. So the exercises this week, as always, I carry my little post-it notes with me so I can make notes and know exactly where I am. The exercises this week were tell yourself what you want, archetypes, how to know when you're there or if you're there, and tell your story. So before we even get going on the first exercise, tell yourself what you want, I actually want to jump right in to the archetypes exercise, because at this point you should have done the archetypes exercise. And what that looks like, I will go ahead and show you. Here is my brand book that I am building. These are all the exercises put out here. And actually I wrote right on the front of it so I could remember, this is a record of how we make brand decisions. This is a record of how we make these decisions, because oftentimes we make a decision about our brand or colors or the way that we want to approach the world or feel about the world, but we don't have a lot of reason behind it. It's really a gut decision in that moment, or maybe it's something you've thought about a whole bunch and you make the decision right there, but it's not written down. It's not executed in a way to go back and revise it and look at it later. And this is something that design really taught me, is to create a record, an artifact of some kind where you can go back and review these things and understand where were you coming from at one point in time, because in the future we rarely remember that. So the archetypes exercise looks like this. Archetypes for branding. And I will go ahead and post this one in the group, because I said when you finish as part of this exercise, take a picture of it, write your brand that you're building, the brand that you're thinking about right at the top, and go ahead and just post it in the group so we can see. And the whole point of this first part was for you to circle 5 different archetypes for your brand that you're building, and circle 5 different archetypes for your client, your customer, your patient, your audience, whoever it is on the other end of the relationship that you are growing. And so you can kind of see, and you can see in the group later, I went ahead and circled a bunch here. It's hard to see because I did pencil for one, and I did pen for the other, and they're a little bit too common. Normally I would say do a red pen and a black pen. That is really nice and easy to see the differences. And my idea, my brand that I'm building is not a business brand right yet. It is an idea brand, meaning it's something I'm trying to create the feeling around, to be able to go to investors, to be able to go to entrepreneurs, to be able to go to people who would be interested in this idea, with a more rounded foundation to be able to talk about it with them. I love idea brands because it's something that can become something later. It's concept work, it's creative, it's everything is possible. So what I'm building is called, or what I'm calling it is the Health Retreat Properties. And the Health Retreat Properties is really that. I'm imagining a place where people can go to get away from the city a little bit and find, some centering. Heart and mind centering, right? That's important. So I went ahead and circled 5 archetypes for me, as well as 5 archetypes for my ideal audience, the people that I really think would be resonant with this whole thing. And what I want you to do right now is to look at your sheet, the 5, or actually the 10 archetypes that you have circled, and I want you to narrow that down right now. Even before I get into the other exercises, you are going to look at this sheet and choose 3 archetypes that for you that are the most important, that are the ones that really resonate with you more than the others, and you're going to choose 3 as well for the for your audience, and just go ahead and put little asterisks by them. And in my case, what I'm looking at, just so you can kind of see here, maybe put a little bit closer and higher. Cameras, right? They're so fun. What I'm looking at is definitely the healer. Let me see here. The visionary. I'm actually working with the pencil right now, so I'm looking at the archetype for my audience, the people who would be interested in a health retreat somewhere. So a healer, a visionary, and I'm going to say a networker, because these are people who know where to go, and this whole thing is really about bringing like-minded people together and having them share a space. So that is the three that I am choosing for my audience. Now I'm going to grab my black pen and come back in here and say, okay, well, the brand itself that I am building, this Health Retreats Properties brand, I look at it as definitely a healer. See, I've got a nice little thing going on, because the way I envision this brand, it's in nature. You have gorgeous landscapes around, you have peace and center. So it's definitely in the healer archetype, helping people heal themselves by giving them a space. I also view this as a magician archetype, and I've got romantic, companion, and storyteller. And I think I'm going to go with the romantic, because a romantic archetype is like your typical, Romeo and Juliet, sort of like deep love, deep affection. And while those are star-crossed, the romantic archetype in and of itself is really about that feeling, not that story. So it's the feeling of just being full of love and in love with life and in love with nature and in love with everything. And I feel like that would be a good archetype to work with when sharing this type of health retreat. So you're going to choose 3 of each right here at the top of this this exercise set, and that narrows down from 5 to 3, and we'll come back to that later. Next, we're going to jump into the exercise, Tell Yourself What You Want. Now, Tell Yourself What You Want is a really powerful exercise that helps you get your subconscious mind on board with your conscious mind. And there's a lot of the reasons for this, and most of the reason is that the subconscious mind controls about 95% of our behavior, our choices, our behavior. Our subconscious mind really has a lot of these connections built in and tends to go ahead and force these types of decisions. And the conscious mind looks at this and goes, okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and focus on survival, focus on strategies, on the day-to-day sort of thing. But when we make conscious decisions that counter the subconscious mind is so powerful that it pretty much blows that conscious decision out of the water if they're not on board. So really, this is a part of us that controls a lot of our daily behavior that can be in conflict with our conscious choices. So it's important to get both of these aligned and moving in the same direction. And part of the way we do that is through this brainstorming exercise. The brainstorming exercise, you can do this either on a sheet of paper or the post notes. And the brainstorming exercise is fantastic because it disassociates the conscious from the subconscious and just creates ideas that allow both parts of your consciousness to align. And so the first part of this exercise is coming up with words, descriptions, ideas, things that are about the brand that you're trying to build. And I went ahead and wrote my list already, and I'll grab my Sharpie here. And this is what my list looks like. And what I did was really just kind of empty my brain of everything surrounding this brand. Every word that I put down cued in another word, cued in more thoughts, cued in pictures in my head. And so I just try to capture that as best I could. So some of these words, so you might see, are castle, garden, fountain, pool. So I started thinking about the physical things I would love to have in these locations that I think that would make it really interesting and intriguing for people to want to go there and spend time there. Micro homes. Part of what I really want as part of this whole thing is that the main building is not the place where you stay. You stay in these little micro homes, micro cabins with their own little kitchenettes, so you could spend a week there or a month there to really get away from the world in and of itself. Community, landscape. I really am big about that landscape. Beauty, peace, investors, because the whole idea of this is to like build an image, build something that I can actually pitch to investors. Land, healing, yoga, Pilates. I think having that on property and offer so that people can stretch along the same lines might be Tai Chi, Qigong, just any kind of stretching. Acupuncture, my wife is an acupuncturist, so I always think of that, is that something that we could offer to help people move through psycho-emotional issues as well as physical body issues? Nature, massage, right? How great would it be to lay in nature and just feel the massage, feel the sun hitting you, right? This sounds awesome. Experts. I want to provide a place where people who are experts in health and who are people in mind-body connections can come and share their knowledge with the group. Auditorium, of course, you would need that sort of thing if you were going to bring in experts, someplace where people to sit and someplace where you can actually hold people together and share this sort of knowledge. Banquet hall, I think everybody dining together would be fun, especially if it were in a castle, right? What would that look like? Library, pub, restaurant. At this point, I'm just making ideas about the physical things I would want in a location, things that would make it fun and exciting to get away to and experience, right? Pub, restaurant, sitting spaces, neutrality bench. I have this great meditation that I do on myself as well as I share it with others. That includes the idea of a neutrality bench where you are in a meditation and you visit a park and you sit on this bench and an idea comes in your mind that's been troubling you, and this bench neutralizes the feelings, neutralizes the emotions in this memory that you have, so that you can sit there and observe it and take yourself out of it. I love the idea of actually creating a neutrality bench. On the bench it says neutrality bench, so that you can sit on it and let your ideas just flow, knowing that the feelings, the emotions, the everything that binds you to whatever those thoughts are just constructs of the mind, and that you can create neutrality around it and let yourself go. Really, create an actual bench would be really cool. Up here, I have togetherness, laughter, energy, sharing, campfires, s'mores, because, it sounds like it's part of the experience to me. Exploration, if it's in nature, we should have some paths. We should have places where people can go into nature and have hikes and walks. Meditation, right, which we need spaces and maybe some guided meditation. Rental, leasing, mental, physical, inner. Now you are going to have different words for your brand depending on what is in your mind, what you're trying to build. And really, this is not right now, this is the future that you're trying to think about. It's the short term, medium term, and long term future. It's physicality of it, it's emotions of it. And you really just want to empty all of these ideas and concepts onto either, you don't have to use a big sheet of paper, you can use a little sheet of paper, or post-it notes I love, because you can make one word, one note on one post-it and move them around. Because the next step of this is a little trickier, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to handle it here. With post-it notes, you can move them around and create stacks, and it's a great way to quickly find patterns and shift ideas. As for myself, what I'm noticing is that, let's see if I can get this in frame a little bit more. There we go. Hey, that's a good place. What I've noticed is that I have physical object, physical object, physical object, physical object, physical object, physical community. Ooh, landscape, idea, idea, beauty, peace. Oh, I like these. I'm going to circle these. Beauty, peace, healing. I love this. Nature, massage, experts. Experts is sort of a, that's an outlier a little bit. Togetherness. You know what? I'm going to circle community and togetherness. Energy, because I feel like energy is a good feeling that wants to go into this. Sharing is a good feeling that wants to go into this. Exploration, meditation, mental, physical, inner. I'm going to circle inner because I think I can kind of tie some of these together. Meanwhile, I'm looking at, this is library, banquet hall, auditorium. These are both go with these all go with the physical sides of things. Pub, restaurant, sitting spaces, even the neutrality bench. This is the physical side. So I'm just noticing patterns. I'm just noticing from the brainstorming session alone what kind of patterns I'm creating as I start to think through these processes. And what I notice is that this is very physically oriented, and community, beauty, peace, healing, togetherness, energy, sharing, these are ideas that are like feelings that I want to create. And then we have some more of it, like yoga, Pilates, acupuncture, massage, experts, campfires, meditation. These are like experiences that I want to host, that I want to to have available on the property. And now you notice the language I'm saying. As I notice the patterns, I'm able to say, I want. These are things that I want. I want these things, right? And that is actually the next step. That is step 3 of this exercise is I want. And I want you to write a statement that really encapsulates something like I want, if I want community, beauty, peace, healing, togetherness, energy sharing. I want the feelings of these things. So I want feelings. See, I'm going to write it right here. I want feelings of, man, that's really just growth and love, right? Growth, support, and love. Because when you're provided a space for healing and community and beauty and peace and energy and sharing, what do you foster there? You foster feelings of growth, support, and love. So really, I'm noticing the pattern, I'm grouping things, and then I'm identifying it by what I want. I want that. So really, experience is I want feelings of growth, support, and love. And through this, I want a physical location that is a lot. I want a physical location that can support all of those things and entertain. So that's, I want a, I don't have room on this paper. I want a physical location that supports and entertains. I love that. You can barely see it in the video, but you know, I wrote it on here. And the last step of this, because when you say I want, you know, what we've done now is disassociated the conscious from the subconscious mind. We've created a list, and then we've used the power of the brain, which is a huge pattern matching machine. Like really, this is the super talent of the brain, is it finds pattern and matches it. And we've used that to identify at least 2 I want statements. And I could probably, find another one based in, the yoga, the acupuncture, the massage, the experts. I want to create experiences that holistically heal mind and body, right? That would be cool. I want experiences that holistically heal the mind and body. I'm going to write that on here. I want experiences that holistically heal the mind and body. Oh, I love that. That's so cool. I love that. Okay, so the last step of this really, because when you get to I want, you're using the power of the brain. And the power of the brain is the power of the conscious mind. That is the power of the mind looking at the pattern, identifying it, and applying words and pictures to say what you want. Now we have to trigger that back into subconscious desires to really unite those 2 fronts. And the way that we do that is with an I choose statement. When we say I want, there's a funny thing that happens in the subconscious, because the subconscious actively says, I don't have that, I desire that, and so I recognize that, but I don't have that, and my state of being is that I don't have that. That's the duality of desire, and in Buddhism, desire is really what leads to suffering, because desire is this recognition that it is not yours, it is not there. That's the challenge with shifting identity and mindsets, is when we feel like we want or desire or must move in a direction, it means we're not already there. And the truth is, we are there. All of this is open, all of this is possible. We simply need to reframe how we go about it. And the trick to desire, the trick to want, is to choose it. So this next step is step 4, is to choose it. And the statement that goes with this is, I choose blank because blank, which means blank. So I choose, I choose, for example, move this back over here, I choose to foster feelings of growth, support, and love because because to me, community, beauty, peace, togetherness, healing, these words bring people together and help them feel more fulfilled in life, which means we can create happier people, growing people, communities of people that feel better about themselves and better about the world that they are building. I choose that. Um, I choose to create a physical location that supports and entertains. Because I think that by supporting and entertaining, we open up that childlike nature inside of us, which is compassion, which is gratitude, which is fun, which is entertainment, which opens us up for so much more in the possibilities of love and acceptance and openness, because I already said because it opens it up, which means which means that by supporting and entertaining, we are actually helping people move through their trauma, through those parts that hold them back to being less than they are capable of being. So you see how this works. I choose one of these I want statements because, and that's really an internal thing, because you're looking at these attributes, these feelings, these ideas, and seeing for you what makes it that way, and really what it means to you. And by doing this, you align the conscious actions, the conscious choice of what you want, and choosing that and moving that down that direction with the subconscious programming, the feelings, the meaning behind it. So that is that exercise. It is a super powerful exercise to align your conscious and subconscious will in a singular direction. And when 95% of your actions, 95% of your life is the subconscious guiding your behavior, actively choosing something different is a powerful tool. Next, we're going to jump on to exercise 5. Remember, exercise 4 is the archetypes. We've already narrowed that down from 5 to 3 at the top of this whole thing. So now we are going to go ahead and move on to exercise 5. Exercise 5, know how you've reached there. And this is sort of a tricky concept, because the brain, the way that the brain is programmed to function, essentially, is to look for survival. It's based on our caveman instincts, our gut instincts, our Neanderthal instincts. However you really want to look at it, it's really based in the limbic processes and the midbrain and the spinal cord reacting to the world around us. So the cerebral, the neocortex, the prefrontal cortex and the neocortex, which is the newer brain, it's the big portion up on top, is really all about taking the signals from the rest of the body, from the limbic region of the brain, and processing it in a way that quickly compares with the past and predicts for the future to keep us safe. Its primary drive is to unite all of the senses and activate neural networks that are all about our memories, our feelings, our emotions, to keep us on a familiar path that is safe and frankly kind of limited. Fear is the limiter. So what we're doing now is we are telling our brains, instead of worrying about the past, instead of worrying about the future, we're telling it, here's what we will see in this future when it happens. And by doing this, we are actively connecting neural networks in our brain prior to even experiencing them in the real world. And what we find through MRIs and through neuroscience is that when we, I like to think of it as future casting, like casting a rod out when fishing, and we're just going into the future and we are imagining that entire day. And that's the reason this whole exercise ends with, tell me the story of your day. Because when we walk ourselves through that day, we imagine what we smell, we imagine what we taste, what we feel, what we see, who we talk to, the things that we do. When we do this, we create neural networks that start to wire together. And the more that we think about these ideas, the more that we forecast that vision, we create even stronger neural networks. And there is a lot of quantum science showing that these neural networks, as they come together, have some kind of weird action at a distance. I think that's what Einstein called it. quantum entanglement. So there's something about the way that the brain works in capturing these ideas, the frequency of these neural networks. And by neural networks, what I mean is neurons in your brain and throughout your body, actually, connecting at super high frequency to bring about the image, the feeling, the senses, and interpret it in a way that is positive for you. This is future casting. This is literally thinking about your future and walking yourself through it, building the neural networks, tapping into the power of the quantum universe, creating quantum connections at a distance, and really relying on these ideas of frequency and energy to unite. Because the more you think about this, the stronger those neural networks connect. Dr. Joe Dispenza says that the neurons that fire together wire together, and the brain, the body, all this loves efficiency. So the more that you think about something, the easier it is to think about it, the less energy the body expends to think about it. Right now it's a little more challenging because I'm asking you to push your boundaries. It's going to feel a little uncomfortable. It's going to feel challenging because you are literally burning more calories now to connect these neurons, to challenge these neurons, to push these neurons into a new network. And by doing that, you actually shift yourself out of negative cycles of the past and start moving into this path of the future that you want. The challenge is that you need to tell yourself what it's going to be like. You're going to tell yourself just how amazing, how great it's going to be, so that the brain starts to recognize it as it happens. This is a function of the reticular activating system. The reticular activating system is a bundle of neurons that has the process of basically filtering in or filtering out data that is important to your relevant reality. The brain tends to get hit by about 10,000 different sensory signals every single second. And consciously, you interpret 40. And this is the act of the reticular activating system. There was a great case study where they put these scientists put a $20 bill on the ground, brought people in who believed that they were lucky, and brought people in who believed they were chronically unlucky. And the lucky ones, a huge majority of the time, noticed the $20 bill on the ground. The people who believed they were unlucky never saw the $20 bill on the ground. And that is the power of the reticular activating system in your brain. When you tell yourself that you are capable of seeing things, that you can see things, and that you have already seen it in the future, you're just acting it out and waiting for that future to get here, the brain actively works to bring those extra senses into your current perception. So that's what we're doing. We are programming your brain with this exercise. So I'm just going to hold up mine and read my answers off to you a little bit. This is the same kind of brainstorming exercise that you could start on a sheet of paper, making a list of things where post-it notes as before. I'm actually going to post a video about the whole post-it notes exercise because that's one that I love to do in a group. I love everybody has a different color post-it notes, and they can just make quick jots of information to share. It's super powerful to get everybody on the same page, aligned and moving in the same direction. It's not necessary for yourself if you're just doing it by yourself, but you know what? Bring in a friend, bring in two friends, and talk about your brand and what you want, and have them join into these sorts of exercises because it broadens the vision. And really, if we're not here to experience a broad, exciting vision that gets us going and, you know, heart pumping and something we want to enjoy and appreciate in our future, what are we doing this for, right? So, how do we know we've reached there? The first question, what is life like with your wish granted? Now, keep in mind, this is for your brand and whatever that means for you. So if this is a personal brand that you're working on, take this in consideration of the personal brand. If this is the business brand that you're working on, take it in consideration of that. Now, for my idea brand here, what is life like with your wish granted? Well, with my wish granted, what I actually picture is 3 different properties of these health retreats. And I kind of picture all 3 in different states with a central castle that is the community center with people, and farmland where they can grow something and use it in the on-site restaurant, and this community of micro homes around where people can come and lease or rent or stay for periods of time, or have entire month-long retreats, focuses, special centers, things like that. So what is life like? Life would be those 3 centers set up, running, successful, people renting out or in all of the the micro homes, the farms, really successful, growing things, selling it back to the community, selling it to the people. I don't know what we grow, but it would have to be based in, the location and the climate and everything that's going on. I picture, who, people really coming and enjoying talks and energy centered stuff to make them feel good. Where would I live? Where do you live? Well, I picture at this point that I'm probably living in different communities across the world. I actually picture myself staying at each of the retreats and helping set up huge events with people there and staying on site to help run things and make sure they're smooth. I also picture myself living in San Diego as well as Washington. I picture myself as being, a citizen of everywhere and really partaking in the communities that I build online and in these different retreats. How do you spend your time? I spend my time speaking. I spend my time inspiring others. I spend my time facilitating businesses in this process to help them grow, to help them think about themselves and their culture and what they're building for the future. What do you enjoy doing? I enjoy, in the future, I enjoy speaking. I enjoy sharing wisdom. I enjoy facilitating personal journeys, facilitating growth, facilitating people finding themselves and their own path, their purpose. And at these properties, right? Because this is what this is for, to find yourself and get back in center with yourself. Where do you eat? I love this question. Where do you eat? Because I know a lot of people that don't, right? They don't really enjoy food, or they don't enjoy cooking. They don't enjoy just the processes around food. There's not a lot of gratitude and appreciation towards it. So where do I eat in the future? I eat amazing food, healthy food, and just delightful food experiences wherever I go. I know that's broad, but that also means that I am choosing that experience at any place that I go. And as we learned in the last exercise, the choice is the powerful action part of life. When we choose that, then we look for that experience. What performances do you go to? Now, I initially wrote this, and I've shared it a lot with what concerts do you go to, but I've changed it to what performances, because it can be more than that. Like, what if you want to see plays, if you want to see musicals, if you want to see not just concerts but speakers. A speaker is a performance as well, right? Like for me, I'd love to see Paul Simon in concert again. I've seen Paul Simon in concert 3 different times now. I've seen Neil Diamond in concert twice now. I've seen the Monkees in concert once. I would love to see more of those guys, however many of them are still living at this point. I also want to see Hamilton, Wicked, Rent, and Les Mis. I love those musicals. I would love to see them live again in a couple of contexts. And that really doesn't have much to do with the retreat, honestly, but that's my life and that's my perspective when these things happen in the future. How will I know that I have reached there? Because I can afford to go to these shows. I can possibly even fly somewhere else that is holding, like, I've never been to New York. I've never seen a show on Broadway. I would love to see one of these shows on Broadway. I could actually put, what performance would I go to? I would love to see Hamilton on Broadway. How do I know that I've reached there? How do I know that I've reached the point that this future has occurred and I'm living it? When I say, hey, I'm going to go, hey, honey, do you want to get on a jet and go over to New York and we can see Hamilton on Broadway this week? Like, how do I know? Because of something like that. And it's important to give these clues to your brain, little clues, specific clues, so that you know when you've reached that point. And the last one, how do you feel when you are there? Well, I feel amazing, right? I feel vibrant, energetic, helpful, truly helpful. I feel listened to because we've built this thing. Obviously, I've worked with people and we've built this thing, so I feel listened to. I feel abundant because I am sharing all of this with as many people as possible. I feel giving. I feel compassionate. So all of those go into the next part, which is a perfect day in the life of you, right? And that's the story I want you to share. I want you to write it down. And, you can use your keyboard, you can use your hands, whatever feels honestly best to you. I will tell you that it works it. Your brain works best with your mind when you use your hands physically holding a writing tool, pulling the information through your imagination onto the paper. It is a function of the mind when the brain and body work together. And these things are separate in terms of how they function and what they do. So to get the best results, really putting all of this part of the story together to tell a story, there should be about 1,000 words, which I know it sounds like a lot, but when you start with, I wake up in a big bed with really comfortable sheets and a pillow. I slept wonderfully. The sheets are so soft and satiny. And I open these big billowy curtains that block light to this big window, and the window lets in light, and I feel warm. I feel energy course through me from the sunlight. Like, this is, I've already gone through 30 or 40 words here. I haven't even got into the rest of my day. This is just getting out of bed. That's what I want you to do. Tell me a perfect day in the life of you, using these ideas, using the thoughts of what you would see when you're living your perfect life. I want you to write me the day that is perfect in the future, when everything has happened for you and you are living your best life. So that's exercise 5. This is a really great one to program the mind to take these next steps for you. Okay, one more exercise. This exercise is the one that dropped today, and this is exercise 6, the Tell Your Story Challenge. Tell Your Story Challenge. And this is really, this is really about the hero's journey. I want you to picture your life through the hero's journey. And I give you a little example here about the hero's journey. And really, the thing about this is that it's how you frame your journey on the way to that perfect day that you just wrote about. And the thing about the hero's journey.
Hero's journey. This is the hero's journey, where we talk like a hero and we move through all the challenges to overcome, right?
Okay, time on the bottom, here's the future, challenges. The thing about the hero's journey is that, and here's how you need to think about this as you write this, and this should be about 2,000 words to set it up properly, is that you're going to take this from a point in life that something happens to you, right? There's a call to action. There is a cause that drives you, there we go. There's a cause that drives you forward, and immediately there's more conflict, right? There's something that challenges you and draws you forward. And then you do something to resolve that a little bit, and then it gets a little bit tougher. Ooh, I went backwards. You can't go backwards in time, Jeremy. Gets a little tougher, and then resolves, and it gets a little tougher, and then resolves, and it gets a little tougher until you get to your future, and you're like, ah, that feels better, right? So all along this, that is the idea of challenge, the idea of stepping up, of seeing the challenge for what it is and how you overcame it. And that's super important in the hero's journey, is to recognize all of the steps that you have taken to overcome, or all the steps you've taken that shifted your path, that drew you in a different path, in a different direction. And down at the bottom of the sheet, I say there's an added challenge, and this added challenge is but and therefore. I've read a lot of stories that basically are a list. I woke up and I put on clothes and I had breakfast and then I took a shower and then I put on work clothes and then I got in my car and went for a drive to work and then I got to work and then I see, every time we put and then, and, it starts to sound like a list of activities. And the way that we get things to sound exciting, the way that we get things to sound like an actual hero's journey or something that is occurring with you, through you, as a challenge and overcome, is by using the words but and therefore. I had a teacher in my undergrad that said a story is only as good as the contrast or conflict that we create. And a lot of people create a lot of contrast, a lot of conflict in their own lives through the dialogue they tell themselves in their mind. And that looks like, things are always working against me. Well, when we put it in this context, this is when we can actually start using that. Things working against you, that's great. And to give you an example of this, uh, I started my creative career in middle school, where I had a talent for drawing and my mother noticed it, and I was ready to go on to high school, but my mom decided to enroll me in art school. Therefore, I got disconnected from my friends. I felt lost. I felt challenged. I had to grow and overcome those feelings so that I could move forward. But I ended up switching schools again to a different art school, which challenged me all over again. This time the school was not well organized, and it forced a lot of trauma into my early life. Therefore, I had to adapt. I had to learn new ways of being. I had to learn new ways of thinking to adapt to the situation. That led me to the next point, where I went into art school. See, that's an and that's like a little. There's not a lot of conflict in that, but there was conflict for me in my life. I thought art school would be easy, but it wasn't. Therefore, I worked harder. I tried new things. I had to expand and grow and overcome again, right? This is the hero's journey. You're constantly growing, you're constantly expanding, and you're using but and therefore to explain this journey for yourself. Therefore, I grew and expanded again. But I wanted to get into a career early, so therefore, I joined an ad agency as an intern. And my challenge went down a little bit because I felt like I found some balance in everything. But then I graduated and the challenge went up because they hired me as a designer and then art director. So challenge went up. Therefore, I adapted. But then I left that company and joined a different company and had to experience something different. Therefore, I adapted, changed, learned, grew. If you can share specifically, I like joining the corporate world in that point. At this point, for me, was learning to adapt to the corporate politics, learning to adapt to that was pharma for me, and I learned how much I liked the culture, I liked the people, but I didn't really like pharma. I didn't like the philosophy behind a lot of it. I didn't like the here you need drugs to fix things about you that may or may not actually be wrong. That was my perception. Therefore, I doubled down on my feeling of the community there and the great boss that I had. But the company was sold. Therefore, I moved to Washington with my fiance, and we started life here. Down a little bit. And in the process here, I learned about Chinese medicine from her. I've taught myself a lot about the mind, the brain, neuroscience, and I've learned how much I really enjoy nature. So what gets me to the future? That's the question, because I actually want you to write this up to the point of that future day. So I've reached this point, but I feel like I don't have a place to bring my community together. I feel like I don't have a place to help people heal their mind and body connection and to get there. Therefore, I'm opening the Healing Health Center, right? So that's how we think about the hero's journey, and that's how I want you to really write this, is on a path to how you get to where you are. Now, this is also sometimes called an empathy bridge, because what we're doing is building a story in the way that leads to your brand, that leads to the reason it started, that leads like through the why, right? This is all about why you start this. The hero's journey is, why are you on this journey? What drew you here? And what we see in case studies and feedback today is that a lot of consumers want to know the why, because there's so much competition of people doing the same thing over and over and over again with slight differences. It's not enough to differentiate, but people's why, people's individual journeys, people's individual reasons for the steps they've taken are extremely unique. And when you build that into your brand, when you build the story in, it creates empathy and compassion for everything that you've been through that created whatever this final brand is that you are building. And that's Russell Brunson, the creator of ClickFunnels, created the term empathy bridge story. That's really just the hero story, cataloging all those challenges to get to where you are. So that's that one. I will post my story for it's better than what I just kind of brainstormed there. But I will post mine online so you guys can get an idea of what it looks like for the health retreats. And one more thing. We're going to go back right now to the Archetypes for Branding exercise, now that we are at the end of this live stream. And we're going to look at the three different choices that you made earlier. And for me, I have three for my brand, the Health Retreat Properties brand, and that is the Healer, the Romantic, and the Magician. And I'm looking at three different archetypes for my audience, which are the Healer, the Networker, and the Visionary. Ooh, I like that. Oh, that's so good. Okay. So now, I want you to narrow this to one of each. And I'm actually going to use a Sharpie. And you can kind of see what I've done here. I just put little asterisks by the ones that I believed in. But now I'm going to use a Sharpie, and I'm going to go ahead and commit to one. Just one for each of these. Now, there are points where you can use your archetypes, your other archetypes, as background support. Just the conscious idea of the archetype and pulling different directions from that, you can absolutely borrow from other archetypes. So if I choose, for example, for my brand, I'm going to choose the Healer. So I'm just going to circle that, put mine. And for my customers, my audience, I'm going to do Visionaries, because I really believe in Visionaries, and I believe that if they, if I can present this to a visionary, I feel like this would be a good place for people who want to do retreats, who want to do getting away, who want to bring people together for energetics, for recodes, for massage, for all of these sorts of things that a visionary person would do that. So I'm going to say Visionary is my audience. Now, you can see I've circled those two. I've circled it in Sharpie. Does that mean that it's final? Absolutely not. This is a record of the decision making. This is not a final anything. We can absolutely adjust, we can shift, we can pivot, we can change any of it. But right now, we're just making decisions. We're just exploring. We're being creative with words and pictures to help us find our path. And again, this is a foundation, so it's good and strong. And if we feel good about it, that's fantastic. So what I've got for mine is Healer, and I've got secondary archetypes of Magician and Romantic. And for my audience, I have a primary of Visionary with a secondary of Networker and Healer. That sounds like a pretty good mix, right? A Healer, Magician, Romantic. Kind of sounds like me. And for a brand like this, that is my idea, my concept, that resonates. If you are working on your personal brand, your brand archetype, your primary as well as your secondaries, should absolutely resonate with who you are and the things you want to build. And your audience, when you stop and think about people you've helped in the past and the way that you have served them with your services, your products, or whatever you're doing, you should absolutely feel like, yeah, they definitely seem to fit into, in my case, a visionary networking healer. That sounds like a lot of people I know and a lot of people I've invited to this group. So I feel like that's right on brand for what I'm trying to build and what I'm trying to work with in this concept. And down at the bottom of this, if you are working on your personal brand, if you're working on a brand where you want to make archetype your center of what you are doing, I put a link to an online quiz by Kate Putnam, who is a brilliant brand strategist. She uses archetypes and psychology to help companies create their logos, create their packets. I really recommend her just for any of this kind of stuff. It's a similar kind of stuff that I do. She has her feel, I have my feel. So, you know, she's one that I feel comfortable recommending. And also, she's got a great quiz if you just want to know what you are as your archetype personally for your personal brand, or just because you're curious. Follow that link, type it in, and take her quiz, and absolutely share it on our group page. I would love to know what that comes up for you. I take it every few months because I'm me, and I love seeing if it changes, and it really doesn't but it's just interesting to redo it. And let me see here. Are we on task? We are on task. Wonderful. So I'm just wrapping up today. I've got about 5 more minutes here. We're going to come in at just under an hour. And I want to share that we've done 2 weeks now on the foundation, the fundamentals, building up what you're trying to build, how you're trying to look at things, creating the foundation for this future that you're growing, which is awesome. And this process is normally a 7-step process, 8 steps with hypnotherapy, but we're not going to do that on here. I will be doing some guided meditation therapy, some visualization therapy in coming weeks. And what I've now calculated, I'm building all the exercises out for the rest of this, is we've got 8 more weeks to complete a brand strategy. So you've started the foundation for your brand strategy. Next week, we'll be starting the brand attributes, values, like the big conversation about what you're trying to build in the brand that you are working on. And that's going to take about 8 weeks to get through because there's a lot of thought that needs to go into it, a lot of exercises that go into it. And then after that, we're going to do 4 weeks for design strategy. If you've ever wondered what colors work best for me, what sorts of patterns and designs and fonts work best for what I'm trying to present to the world, that is in the 4 weeks in design strategy that will follow all of this stuff. And that together really encompasses the full length of my brand process that tells you who you're trying to be, how you're trying to share it with the world, how that really should look and sound and feel as you move forward. And that's a full package right there. And then I just want to share that I'm also working on some videos that I will post in here. I will post them on my YouTube page. I will post them on my other business pages, Think Tank Creative, Think Tank Consulting, Think Tank Me. And that really is a whole walkthrough of the Post-it note brainstorming exercise. I'm going to show you how I do it with Post-it notes, how to organize, how to move things around, and really explain the reason for that. I'm also doing a video on brand versus branding, so that if somebody asks you or talks about branding, oh, I need a brand, I need branding, you have a deeper insight that's closer to the stuff that I understand about why that's kind of like, I need socking. There's words that sound similar, but they mean very different things, and where you want to put your focus determines which one of those things you're going to grow, right? That's the law of attraction right there. Where you put your focus grows. So I want to make sure that you are putting your focus on building your brand through the activity of branding. And branding really is all of this process you're doing right now, all of this thinking process, all of this strategy process. This is all part of branding. This is why it's so difficult, because it benefits you and it benefits everything you're doing, but it is not your brand, and it is not really just one solid thing, and it's certainly not just your logo. And the third video that I'm working on right now is the mind and identity in branding, because the power of the mind, the power of understanding yourself and understanding how your brain and mind function together to create a picture of yourself and the picture of where you're going is super important to helping you understand and feel confident really in every step that you're taking forward. So that's what I've got for today. These are the 4 exercises. Altogether, this is 6 exercises for the foundation of the Manifest Design Experience. This is so exciting. I love going through this with you. I love sharing it with you. I just want to say, if this is too slow for you, if you're not able to keep up for the next 8 weeks, I do this entire process one-on-one with people, helping their business, helping their brand get started, get to the next step. I also do the design strategy part after that. Typically that's for more business clients that are trying to build websites or things. They need a cohesive look and feel that goes with all of that. And of course I do logo design through the Branding Sage business, where we use all of this information to identify the right type of logo for your audience, for your brand, to build it. And if all of this interests you, if you're curious, if this next step is right for you to actually pay for this service, applications for the Manifest Design Experience for the branding process are on my website, thinktankcreative.net. Just click a button, get on my calendar, and there's sort of an admission, just discovery understanding call, so we can see if you can just get through the group and be good and cool with that, and that helps you, or if really paying for the service is more advantageous to your schedule and aligned with your needs. And other than that, like this post, share this post, share the exercises. If you know people that want to join this group or are building a business and would really benefit from it, tag them somewhere, and I will invite them to the group if they want to experience it. And above all else, don't hurry. I've set time limits on these exercises. When I'm going one-on-one with people, with businesses, with management teams, we're doing it right there. We're getting through every exercise in either 1 or 2 days, and it is solid, it is rough, it is hard, it pushes, it exhausts. If you are watching in this group and taking part in these exercises, you are doing great if you are doing an exercise, if you are moving forward, if you are building a brand book, right? This is the record of how we make these types of decisions. This is super important. Ask questions. I will be happy to answer myself on the post. Tag me in it, and I will answer Jeremy Tank. And just take it at your own pace. Write a story, post it up there, do an exercise, take a picture, post it up there, answer the questions with each exercise, post it up there. I love to see video of your face sharing the exercise. You could read one of the stories, maybe a perfect day, just read it over video back to us. Let us relish your face, relish your storytelling skills, relish your energy as you get out and share who you are. And yeah, so this is the foundation. Everything we build from here, it just goes up. It starts to come together further down the line. Trust in the process works. So thank you so much. I love you so much. I appreciate you so much. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you next Friday, and enjoy the next exercises. Take care.